Hey, what's happening? This is Derek Richards, and it's a drink with Derek. This has actually worked out quite well, this whole pandemic thing, because I used to do these things where I would be sitting with you at a bar right now having a drink, and there's all kinds of commotion and stuff going on in the background. So you could never really have like a good conversation without being interrupted. So, due to the wonders of technology, putting something like this together actually worked out quite well. And it's always good to see old friends that I haven't seen in a while. And this is working out great because my guest today is a comedian who has a special out right now on YouTube, which you can see for free, called Modern Male, which is hilarious. Highly recommended.
Thank you.
Also, check out his album, 10,000 Pesos, on his website, zoltancomedy.com. Also, his podcast called This Week in Zoltan, which you can also connect through his website here, too. We've also seen you on some TV commercials. Yeah. But I get to see you now. And we also, thank God we got the message on the black V-neck T-shirt. So
yes, dude, we you know what, we always coordinate. I'm pretty sure when we worked together at Brad Garrett's club, we were wearing the same lovely suit
the entire week. And the same black hats, that worked out perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
All I need behind me is a picture of you, like you have behind you.
You know, I did one Zoom show. I did one Zoom show, and I went up first, and then the next comic, he scrambled around his house and found some poster with his face on it and quickly put it up just to one up me. It was a bigger poster than the painting that I have of my face. Yeah, but yeah, the story behind that, and I keep pointing to the wrong one because I keep forgetting this is mirrored. It's that painting right there. A fan brought it to me at a show I did in Miami. So it was the coolest thing a fan's ever brought me. Usually they bring me cat toys and cat treats for Jessica, but a painting of my face was pretty sweet.
That is really cool. And a lot of people, Zoltan Kaszas, who's hilarious. You are from Hungary originally, from Budapest, Hungary. Before we get into that, though, I always like to ask, what's your give me your best drunk story?
Best, oh, man, there's so many. I was trying to think of this this morning when I was in the shower. One of my favorites is actually, it's always the younger drunk stories that seem to stick out for me. Yeah, there was a time when I was 19 and we went to my friend Lynn's family, like kind of barbecue thing. And we were at her cousin's house or her aunt's house. And they had a beautiful backyard with a giant koi pond that kind of went into it. It was beautiful. It had like a bridge over it. And I was drinking Smirnoff Ice. Do you remember Smirnoff Ice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were pounding. This is like 2007, 2006. And I'm pounding those. I had about 4 in me, so I'm wasted. And just 2 sheets to the wind. And I went to go pee once, but it was so weird because all the adults were hanging out in the house. So I was like bumping into the wall trying to get to the bathroom. So I didn't want to go pee in there. So instead, I peed in her koi pond. And from what I heard, some of the fish died after that. And I wasn't welcome back to the house anymore.
The fish got drunk on Smirnoff Ice?
Yeah, filtered through a 19-year-old body.
Through a Hungarian man.
Yeah, through a Hungarian boy.
And, a Hungarian boy.
Yeah. There's 2 things that will kill koi. Pennies, so don't throw pennies because the copper will kill the koi. Or a 19-year-old Hungarian's urine that's filtered through Smirnoff Ice.
See, this show is a lot more than just entertainment. It's about education, too.
Yes. Yeah, it
is. So people watching this can come away with having this knowledge now. So your favorite adult beverage, I know it is not Smirnoff Ice. Or is it?
I have a Coors Banquet beer.
Wow, there you go. That's old school.
Yeah, I wish I could lie and say I got it for another reason, but it's just I think the bottles are cool, and these are always on sale.
The bottles are badass. I remember years ago living in Michigan. We went up to Colorado before Coors was available east of the Mississippi. Oh. And so my dad literally was moving suitcases around in the trunk of our car to make room for cases of Coors to take back because that was like the coolest thing in the world. And looking back at it now, I'm thinking,
beer. That's so cool.
I know. Well, it goes back to thinking, how many souvenirs I could not bring back because my dad was bringing back his stash of beer, which is just so sad.
It might have been the ultimate inspiration for this podcast, to drink with Derek.
You try to find where the genesis of things came from, and I think that it goes back to cases of Coors in the trunk of my dad's car.
Was that like 8 or 9 days back then?
What's that?
Was that technically illegal back then, like moving alcohol over state lines?
I don't know. Maybe my dad was like following in the footsteps of Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, it kind of feels very Smokey and the Bandit-ish. Yeah.
My dad was the very first Jerry Reed before Jerry Reed was Jerry Reed, moving a truckload of beer from Texarkana to Atlanta. What you were born in? So much to get to here, but you were born in Budapest, Hungary. You were raised by a single mom. And when did you come here to the States?
It's our anniversary is actually coming up next week. The day we landed in the United States was July 4th, 1991. So that's our anniversary for coming to the country. Is the 4th of July. But yeah, we came in 91. I was 4 years old. And we landed in New York City. My mom got married. So to a Hungarian American, he had like dual citizenship. So we moved over and we started a new life in Pittsburgh for a short time until we eventually meandered over to San Diego.
Where'd you end up meeting this guy? Was it overseas?
In Hungary?
Was he there on business?
Yeah, he had family over there. So he was bouncing back and forth from Hungary to the United States often.
Right.
So that's how they met. Yeah.
So what was your first memory when you came here to the States?
Man, you know what? My first memory is us not being able to go through customs because my mom wouldn't give our passports to the U.S. customs agent. Because the one piece of advice she got in Hungary was don't give your passports to anybody. That was because like the passport's so important. She's like, don't give it to anybody. But they failed to put an asterisk on that statement and go, except if it's like a U.S. Customs border agent, you might need to give it to them. So it was just me and her and this border agent who obviously spoke no Hungarian. My mom speaks no English, and they were just having a standoff where he's like, you need to give me that. My mom's like, I ain't giving you these. And then finally, I guess she relented, and then they let us into the country. But yeah, that was my first memory in the United States, is us just waiting there because my mom wouldn't hand over the documents that said we're allowed to come in.
Get all the way over there, all set to come in the country. And she's just going to be stubborn and go, no, I'm not giving you anything.
No, I was told not to give these to anybody, and you're anybody, so you're not.
And you're anybody. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I don't care about your badges and your patches that you got on and everything.
I hope she has a good excuse for that. I'm going to hope she was just delirious from the long travel day, but I can't believe that.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Now, I know very little about Hungary, being a typical dumb American.
Sure.
Now when I think of Hungary, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, and again, correct me on this. I think I don't know why I think like Poland, where it's like cold and dark and rainy, and you guys are all as a community just sharing a potato, and you're just dragging dead animals through the street and just trying to survive.
I think that's pretty spot on. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't my experience. We lived in Budapest, which is the capital city in Hungary, and I only lived there obviously for 4 years before we moved, so it was a short time. But yeah, it was a communist country, so it it was a poor Eastern European situation. So a lot of cold people. My mom and I are kind of weird for Hungarians because we're friendly and we smile a lot, and that's we're not a good representative of what's going on over there. They're it's kind of like you ever meet like someone from Russia and you're like,
they're pissed all the time. They just don't. Yeah, there's no joy.
Yeah, it's more like the national disposition is more that way than it is like, hey, what's up? Welcome to Hungary, They're cold people. I think that's why my mom left. She's like, I don't fit in with these people. I smile a lot. I like to joke around, and that's how I am too. So, but yeah, everyone else over there, like we still talk to family over there. They're just miserable people.
Did you go back and see family over there?
I haven't in years. I think the last time we went back was in the early 90s, and I haven't been back since. And I don't know if you feel this way. You travel all the time. Once I started doing comedy and like doing it full time, it's hard for me to travel for vacation. Like anytime I have time off, I want to stay here and just stare at a painting of myself. Like that's what I want to do.
I don't blame you, because right now, after this is all over, I'm going to get a screenshot of this, and I'm going to get a picture of you in front of a picture of you behind me hanging over my bed. So
that's perfect. That'll creep everybody out. Good luck on Tinder, man.
I can't wait. How different was it seeing kids raised by traditional American parents? I mean, was she still instilled in that Hungarian way to raise your children, or was it something that was totally? Was she adaptable to how kids were here in the States?
That took her a minute. She the classic thing of like making fun of parents who did time out. Like my mom didn't understand that. She's like, what do you mean time out? Like, that's not how I was raised. I have a younger brother. We're 13 years apart. The lady who raised me and the lady who raised my brother, two very different people. I was raised, those two people don't know each other. All right. I was raised by a Hungarian lady and my brother was raised by an American lady. That's pretty much the difference. It was, she was very nice to me and she wasn't mean. I don't want it to come off that way, but yeah, if you stepped out of line, you were getting a hand to the face. There was I never got spanked. It was always to the face. I remember one time she hit me in the face and I took a dive, to like stop more shots from coming in. So she started working my ribs. She started kicking me in the ribs. So, she's don't see when I say that it sounds horrible.
No.
My mom's a tiny lady. They're not big shots. Yeah.
No, I totally. Yeah, I'm not thinking it's Amanda Nunez or some other MMA fighter looking to score points while you're on the mat.
Yeah, she wasn't turning her punches over. These weren't good shots that she's throwing. So,
Joe Rogan wasn't commenting on the whole thing.
No, her form was horrible. But yeah, that's the way, she's like, you don't disrespect your parents. I'll put up with it to a point, but, we don't do that. But that's also who I got my humor from. A lot of those early years in Pittsburgh were not great years, especially for her. But every night, it's Pittsburgh. It's a cold place. But every night we would kind of like vent our frustrations of our day, whether it was me with school or her with her job. And we would almost do like little 5-minute monologues each, cracking each other up about the bullshit that we're dealing with. And that's kind of, I don't know, that was like early stages of stand-up. That's always how we dealt with bad stuff, as we laughed at it before we went to bed.
Well, which is cool to have somebody like that in your house that you can do that with, especially when it's your mom, who was obviously a disciplinarian, but also had a sense of humor. She enjoyed smiling, but she wanted to raise a good kid.
Yeah. She was big on like, she's like, I'm going to teach you to survive. I don't know how successful you're going to be or whatever you do, but you'll at least survive. And because that's how she came up,
How did she react when you wanted to do this? I mean, because typically this is not, you are the only Hungarian comedian that I know of. If there's more, please tell me, but you're it.
Yeah, the only other one I can think of is Christina Pizitsky, but I don't know if she was born there.
Okay.
But I know her, I know her mother was, so she might have been born here, but, or she came here when she was young, kind of like my situation, but my mom was all for it. I'm one of those weird foreign kids that my mom never pushed me to be a doctor or a lawyer. She's just, find something you're happy with, find something you like. And then I picked stand up and she's like, okay. I mean, she thought I'd be good at it because she's like, you're funny and you're good at public speaking. So you can do that. But at the same token, she wasn't going to help me out and pay my rent while I struggled in LA. Like, so she didn't do all that stuff. But no, she was very supportive. So I always hear stories of comics who didn't have supportive parents that went, you're never going to make it and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if I would have been able to do stand-up if my parents were like, no, you're never going to make it. This sucks. You're an idiot. Go be a lawyer or something. And my mom was nothing but support all the way through.
No, that's super cool. So you come here to the States. It's a whole different atmosphere for you. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're indoctrinated into things that we do here in the U.S. that you obviously were not doing over in Hungary. Granted, you were only 4 years old at the time when you got here.
Yeah.
But Halloween, what was your favorite Halloween costume as a kid? When you first got to realize you could go out and get candy from people.
Yeah, Halloween. I think we had something like that in Hungary, but it wasn't Halloween. And I don't think there was candy involved, but you got to dress up as something. I think maybe like you go to like the Russian chancellor's office and they throw like cold cheese at you or something. I don't know what it was. I don't know what they had something. But I remember my first ever costume was a skeleton, and my mom painted my face as a skeleton, and then I had the skeleton outfit, and that's where she found out I was like allergic to cosmetics, because I started to break out. Like, I started to tear up around my eyes, and I got like a rash. So then she had to clean my eyes. So I went out as a skeleton with everything painted except everything around here. So the rest of me painted, but then just human eye sockets, nothing.
Trial by fire.
Yeah.
That's insane. So with all the stuff going on today, how many people have you muted or deleted off of social media? Friends of yours that you didn't know were going to be, and I'm not asking what side you're taking on anything.
Oh, yeah,
but,
I'll tell you.
Just people that have really lost their mind one way or the other. Whether it was the pandemic, and then it became the rioting and all the protesting and stuff like that. How many people do you think you've probably muted or deleted off of your social media because you just got sick of seeing their crap?
At least about 15.
Yeah,
I think about 15 to 20.
About right.
Which is, it's funny because I definitely get caught up in it, but I also like to step back and go, you realize that we both made the same arguments for both protests. Like the things we were saying about the people protesting the virus and the lockdown were the same things they were saying about the people protesting the death of
George Floyd.
George Floyd. Thank you. And so, and by the way, you can't point that out, because if you can't have a diplomatic position on social media. That is the most unpopular thing. You got to pull hard left or hard right. And so, yeah.
If you bring a logic to the party, nobody wants to hear that.
No, because the only comments that get all the retweets and likes are the ones that are like, bam, all the way this way. And you're like, that's not how this works, but okay.
Right.
But yeah, it's been a lot of that. It's the most depressing part is I actually thought this virus was going to be the thing that brought us together. I really
it was, and then
it lasted 3 days. Because like the Condoleezza Rice quote, or maybe it wasn't her, but she was one of the people that also said it. To bring people together, you need a common enemy. And I was like, perfect. We got a virus. And we were together for like 3 days until like the fourth day, someone's like, that virus is a Democrat. And it was over. And we were like hating each other. And I don't know. It's scary because that means like if the aliens ever attack, we're not going to band together to fight the aliens. We're just going to be like, oh, well, let's see how they vote in November before we start choosing sides. And I don't know. It's scary. It makes me wonder what is together.
Well, can you imagine the aliens land here and they've all got to be sitting around waiting until November for the election to decide who they want to kill?
Yeah.
Or who they want to take over?
Well, this side wants us to be on their side if we vote for them, and this side and all that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know how they're saying that like Hollywood should stay out of the virus and politics and all that stuff, which I agree with because they come off like blowhard millionaires who are trying to tell us what to do, even though they never lived a life. And I agree with that. But I also think politicians should too. And that's the hard part because politicians make policy to help us live our lives or whatever. But I feel like if we just all talked without the affiliation of left or right, I think we wouldn't be that far apart on the virus. And I don't think we'd be that far apart on the fact that we didn't think that killing of George Floyd was all right. But yeah, once the politics gets come in, then it's a team exercise. And then it's over. Then I'm wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey and you're wearing a Redskins jersey and we don't like each other. Even if there's something that we kind of see eye to eye on, because we're wearing different jerseys. It's just, it doesn't lead anywhere positive.
No, you're right. It depends what news outlet people are watching.
Yeah.
Where they're forming their opinion, whether you're watching Fox or you're watching MSNBC or CNN or whomever. It's like there's no one actually just giving you the straight facts. And then handing it to the public and saying, all right, here's what's going on. Form your own opinion. So it's just everybody kind of being led around, which is insanely depressing, is what it is. It really is. It's sad because I had no idea. I had so many friends that were, and I won't say so many, but I mean it's probably around the same number as you. When I say about 15, in terms of these people that turn out to be lunatics, like one way or the other. And I'm like, I see stuff that they post and I'm like, where did this come from? I never knew this person when we were getting hammered at the bar.
Right. Yeah. This goes back to an old joke I did on my dry bar special, but it was the worst thing that ever happened to society was social media because it took away acquaintances. You can't have acquaintances anymore.
Right.
Acquaintances were people you kind of knew, you know? You didn't know. It's like, oh, that guy, his name's Dave. He works at the hardware store. We talk about sports, and that's all you knew about him. And you like Dave that way. But then you're friends with him on Facebook, and you're like, oh, Dave's in the Ku Klux Klan. I had no idea.
It was.
And you're like, I just thought he likes football. No, there's more. He really
likes football and white people.
Yeah, like a lot. Yeah,
a lot of white people. In fact, if he had his dream football team, there would be no black people on the field.
Right. Yeah, it would just be a lot of handing it off for 2-yard games up the middle.
A lot of handing it off to really slow white guys.
Yeah, it would be a low scoring game. There's a lot of field goals, buddy. A lot of field goals.
What you released a special called Modern Male. It's on YouTube right now. It's pushing like almost 700,000 views on YouTube, which is fantastic. It's free on that platform now. It was a single camera shoot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Literally like what we as comedians do when we just record ourselves to submit these videos to comedy club bookers for work. So when people, to the layperson that's watching this, we just set up a camera in the back of the room. We hope to God that some audience member doesn't plow into it or steal your camera for that matter.
I wonder how much that
all of a sudden it's like, you could have the set of your lifetime, and I'm in the frame like this, and all of a sudden some knucklehead bumps into it, and now I'm over here the rest of the entire show hating life.
Yeah.
Afterwards, and I watch it, and yours came out. It's hilarious, first and foremost.
Thank you.
The fact that it's not in that traditional 3-camera, 4-camera, pow, 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 pow. You know, the rule of thumb is to not be on, not hold the frame for like longer than really 5 or 6 seconds.
Right.
What prompted you to release that as a special?
The pandemic. Because what I was initially doing was it was supposed to be just an audio recording for my new album through 800 Pound Gorilla, but I set up my camera too, because what I was going to do is chop up the bits and put them on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the stuff, That's what my initial plan was. But then the lockdown hit, and I was like, I forget who did it. I think Sam Morrill posted his. It was through Comedy Central. He was going to post it by himself. He set up like a 3-camera shoot, traditional, and he was going to post it by himself. And then Comedy Central came in at the last minute and bought it and put it on their YouTube channel. But it got a lot of views. And so I was like, well, let's just put it up. I put it up, and I put full special, and I put the little hashtags on it saying Comedy Central, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it started getting views, and then a lot of positive upvotes and all that stuff. So YouTube started sharing it on there, started suggesting it to people, and it started to grow from there, which is great. But it wasn't my initial plan. It's not like I went into that set going, I'm going to do a 1-camera shoot and I'm going to release it. Because if I would have done that, I probably would have got more of a straight-on shot, right. Maybe something a little more standard. But I ended up doing that side angle view. But yeah, pure accident. I was just like, well, let me film the set. Really, I'm concerned about the audio because this is what I'm going to send over to the record company for them to put on Sirius XM or whatever.
Right.
But it actually helped because 800 Pound Gorilla was busy. They have a lot. They're like casting a wide net with albums. And I had recorded it, and they're like, yeah, we haven't looked at it. We're looking at it. Well, hang tight. We're backed up. But then once I put mine on YouTube, and after the first week, it had like, I don't know, 50,000 views. It got their attention, and then they suddenly got back to me going, yeah, we have a release date for your album. And I was like, I bet you do. Yeah. So
if it's out there with 5 views, they would have went, yeah, whatever, suck it. But yeah. Oh, hey, look at this. Look at all the stuff that's not doing anything.
Yeah, suddenly the stuff that that was ahead of me got moved over. Yeah, and then now they're releasing. It's actually getting released next week, the 7th of July, on iTunes and all that stuff. But yeah, it was just a happy accident. I really hate what's happened this year because last year was such a great year for me doing stand up, and this lockdown sucked. But if it wasn't for the lockdown, I wouldn't have released the whole thing like that. I had a different plan, and this worked out way better. So
Now, has it been able to, with the number of views that you've had on it now, and people always ask this whenever I talk to them about different specials and things like that.
Yeah.
The layperson, they're like, okay, have you been able to monetize that?
I mean, there's an ad on it. I think it's not a lot of money.
Right. I'm not looking to see what it is, but I'm just, I was just curious, at what juncture did they go, okay, Zoltan, we'll start paying you a few bucks for this thing being on our platform?
Well, it's so the way YouTube works is, I think after you get to 1,000 subscribers, you can monetize your channel, meaning you can put ads on your videos.
Okay.
And I had already had that because of the Dry Bar stuff that they put up. Because Dry Bar put up all my stuff, people started subscribing to my channel, and then so I already had enough. So when I put it up, I had already monetized it, so it was ready to make money from the beginning. And then, ooh, thank you, Coors. That was a Coors burp, is what that was. Yeah,
Go
for that.
That was like in a smoothie that you had this morning. Good for you.
Smelling like everyone's stepdad right there. But yeah, so it was ready to go from the beginning. But YouTube does a really good job, and I guess that's who I am now. I was joking around with my friend the other day. I'm like, I don't even think I do stand-up anymore. I think I'm a YouTube content creator. I think that's what I do now. Like,
hey, good for you.
I'm gonna try to keep it going. I think because stand-up is where it's at, and I don't know what the future holds, at least in the short term. I think I'm gonna focus on this, and hopefully when all this is over and we have a cure for this thing and we can all go back to the way life was before, my long-term hope is to be independent, kind of like a Doug Stanhope, where everywhere he goes, he maybe either rents out a venue or does a complete door deal with the club, and he brings in his own crowd and does it that way. That's my ultimate goal. I would love to live like Doug Stanhope. Not in Bisbee, Arizona, which is a fine city, but in San Diego. That'd be great.
Hey, yeah. Nothing wrong with having a residence in San Diego and making a living doing it.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you about that, because you've produced, when I followed like some of the stuff that you've posted on social media, and you do a lot of one-off shows.
Yeah.
And so you're producing your own stuff. Where has your audience base drawn from? Because you're in Southern California right now. And I mean, you were on the East Coast, you're in Miami, obviously, doing things all over the place. I mean, what has been your audience base? Has it been from the podcast, which we'll talk about here in a second, or where has it come from?
Most of it came from Dry Bar.
Okay.
Doing that Dry Bar special, and then they released the cat jokes bit, which got a lot of views on Facebook and on YouTube. That's where it all came from. So a lot of my audience is cat ladies, which is a great audience to have. They show up early. They have money. They don't heckle. They're wearing. I tell this story on stage. This is the first time I realized I started to gather a little bit of a following. Right after Dry Bar released the clip, I was working at the Spokane Comedy Club, and it was the week before Christmas. Like, Christmas was like on a Monday that year, and I was doing the weekend leading up to it. So it should have been a horrible weekend for turnouts, right? Every show was packed, like over 200. And I knew it was because of the cat jokes, because every audience was just women in cardigans. That's all it was. Just women in cardigans. And after every show, there'd be a line to come take a picture with me, and they would just show me pictures of their cat on their phone. They'd be like, "Hey, this is my cat." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I've made it." Like, this is what making it feels like. Some people make it like Andrew Dice Clay and you're like a rock star, but no, I'm going to be the comedian for the cat ladies, which I will gladly take. And yeah,
niche market. Good for you.
Yeah, it's worked. And then, so the way the setting up my own shows has started was I was trying to get booked at a club in Phoenix that had opened up. And I had almost every one of their headliners recommend me, and they were still giving me the runaround and not even responding to my emails.
And that never happens with comedy club bookers.
Right. Very common story if you do stand-up. Yeah, you just want to blow your head off. And then, so I said, why am I doing this? Why don't I just rent my own little venue and see what happens? So there was a little improv comedy theater that sat under 100 people. I think it sat 75 or 80 people, really small. I did one show. We sold it out 2 weeks before the show. And in that one night, I cleared more money than those guys were going to pay me for the weekend. So
good.
Yeah. And then because I got to a lot of those improv theaters, like they charge you next to nothing to rent the place because they're all just, improv guys that run it anyway. And they're stoked to have an audience there. And so that gave me the idea. It was like, all right, we need to do this more often. So then first it was like every city that has a club that won't book me, I'll look up my own venue. And now it's getting to the point where I don't even want to work at a club because when you put on your own shows, there's no check drop. There's no late show. You don't have to get up to do morning media on Friday. You don't have to deal with any of that. There's no free tickets. So no one's showing up that doesn't like you. It's not like anyone's showing up because they got free tickets and they're like, who's this dick? And then they come at you all weird. It's just a bunch of people going, woo!
No, in this case, they pay money and they go, who's this dick?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I mean, the people that don't know me at the shows got dragged there by somebody else that did know me or at least think I was funny. So, but yeah, the atmosphere is so much different. That's my ultimate goal. I wanna just do shows at little venues that I rent, and hopefully the venues get bigger. But even if they don't, that's cool. I'll do a little 100-seaters. That's the dream. I mean, the fact that when I started in comedy, I just wanted to work on the weekend. I was like, wouldn't it be cool to do a set on the weekend? And then you get to that, and then you're like, man, it would be cool to like actually have people know who I was and come out to see me. And then now it's like, I don't even want to go to a club. I just want to set up my own venues, do my own shows.
No, it's nice. It's a great situation to get into. And now with, all the power of the internet and social media and stuff that you can do to promote it, I mean, that changes the dynamic altogether. Now you are, as you mentioned, you took this cat joke bit that you put out. As a self-proclaimed cat person, how well did that work with picking up women years ago?
Well, when in the last 2 years, it's been good. Before that, I was married, but that ended. So I wasn't hitting on anyone before I had a cat. Right. But now these cat women, they just come up and they're like, "You're the man. We like cats. You like cats. We're into you." So it's pretty simple. It comes off pretty easily, especially after the show. It's all cat women. They show me a picture of their cat. I show them a picture of Jessica. Game, set, match. We don't even have to go out and get drinks. It's over.
What was you've got, I saw you on a TV commercial because I remember texting you after I saw you on a TV commercial. What was that again? Wasn't it some shaving product?
Manscaped. And that's I played the grooming guru in that ad, and their main trimmer is the Lawnmower 3.0, and it's for trimming your ball and butt hair. My mother's very proud. I want to make that clear.
Well, there was another one that was coming out, isn't there? Or was it going to come out, or did it come out?
Yeah, there's a new one. Yeah, there's a new one coming out, but they also have different products. So like right when this lockdown started, they're like, do you mind shooting a commercial by yourself, like vlog style? So I shot it right here on this couch, and it was for their nose trimmer called the Weed Whacker. So I play myself, and then I play the guru, and I bounce back and forth. It's the best acting work I've ever done. I'm actually playing two different characters here. So one's me trying to trim my nose hairs with like utility scissors, and then the guru shows up, also played by me. And then I'm like, hey, use this, you dummy. And then he doesn't cut his nose off.
Where you have to slide that picture over to make room for your Oscar.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was the best part of the little commercial is that painting's in the background. Well, there's me and I had a really good time doing it. That was another, every good thing that's ever happened in my, if I want to call this a career, has been by pure dumb luck. Dry Bar Comedy helped out the most, and I just did it for the single day payday, and it ended up paying really well and then gave me a fan base. Manscaped just paid me really well, especially in times when I can't work. And they just reached out to me last year on Instagram going, hey, we're a San Diego company. Would you like to be the lead in our campaign? And they've paid me well, taking care of me. So just dumb luck.
Your podcast, This Week in Zoltan, you've had that since I've known you. And you're approaching 300 episodes. What motivates you to do that? Because that's a lot of, I mean, that's some longevity. It really is. I mean, because a lot of podcasts go away within a couple of years, and you've been consistent with that. What's been your motivation to keep that going?
Well, the reason it's been easy to keep it going is I don't have guests on mine. And that's the hardest part of a podcast, having to get a guest and then coordinate a time that works for them. Obviously, now it's easier because both of our schedules are wide open. But usually that's the hard part of a podcast. So I would do it myself, and I still do it myself. And I almost treat it like an open mic. I talk about things that happen during the week, and I kind of riff on them in front of a microphone, now also a camera because I post it up on YouTube. And bits come out of there. I remember years ago I did a thing right after Kim Jong-un killed his uncle. And it was in the morning, and I was just riffing about it. And I said something like, that reminds me, like, he definitely watched The Lion King. And he was like Simba in The Lion King, and he saw his uncle over there because his uncle was missing an eye. So he kind of had like a scar type look. And so he was like, oh, I've seen this movie. That guy's going to try to kill me. I'm going to kill him. And I said that, not thinking anything of it. My ex was getting ready for work in the morning. She goes, that's pretty funny. And then I started doing it on stage, and it kind of became like a closer for a while there. And so from that moment on, I started treating it like an open mic. And that's why it's been able to keep going. No guest, and it melds into my stand-up. So it works.
No, it's great. It's a great tool to, like you said, you're finding out current events or whatever's happening, and you can build on it and just kind of talk through things. And it's an open mic without hanging around a bunch of hipsters smelling like patchouli oil,
right?
With backpacks full of shitty jokes and a big thing of Starbucks coffee in their zip hoodie. It's like you can be in your house with your cat and your artwork, and you're like, you know what? I can do my podcast here. Suck it.
And that really says something about open mics, when it can be more productive to say your new jokes to nobody than it is to go. I mean, that really says something. Like, instead of telling your jokes to 10 comics and making them so dark that they laugh, but now you can't say them to a real audience because you're mortified. Now you can just say it out loud in your living room, and it actually does.
And it's more productive.
Yeah, it's way more productive. Yeah.
Last question. Best board game that you could have that you could adapt to a sex game with a partner?
I think Risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, because it's like war, and then you can make side deals. I feel like if you and your significant other play Risk and you don't have sex at the end of it, you guys are probably breaking up. It's a real one or the other game board, like, because one of you's winning. And
I've never heard it put that way. Of all the board games out there, Risk, I like that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Zoltan, you're awesome, dude. ZoltanComedy.com is his website. Check out his special Modern Male on YouTube for free. Watch it. Free is good and hilarious is good. These are both. And check him out in your favorite manscaping commercial near you. And This Week in Zoltan, the podcast, it's always entertaining and very just funny as hell. And you are as well. And I wish you nothing but success, man. You're fantastic.
You too, man. I can't wait to work with you again. And thank you for giving me a reason to day drink on a Monday.
I gotta have some reason to exist.
Absolutely. Cheers, man.